Hello, I'm Royce Kruger. I welcome you to the 8 Keys. In this DVD study course, we're going to take the time to get to know the 8 keys very, very well and hopefully introduce you to how you may be able to make wealth and happiness very good in your life, make it very high. What I'd like to do is share with you at the very beginning how you can maximize the effectiveness of this course. Periodically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and ask you to fill out an exercise in your workbook. I would like you to look at me as if I'm sitting right in your room with you, as if you're in a live seminar with me, and that I'm teaching this specifically to you. And when you do this, I'd like you to, when I ask you to write, to seriously sit down and write something, because at the end of this course, I would like you to have an action plan to help you gain fabulous wealth and very good, deep internal content, happiness in your life. And that's my objective in teaching this course. So if you'll take a minute or two and do the exercises as I instruct you, I think you're going to find that you'll take this course into action. It'll be a part of your life and you'll really enjoy the results that you achieve. Now, during this particular lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to why we have the 8 keys. I want to talk to you about the importance of the 8 keys. I want to share with you what you can expect from this course. I also want you to be able to understand that by applying the 8 keys, you'll be able to achieve much greater wealth and happiness in your life. In order to understand that greater happiness and wealth, I want to make sure we have a good definition of wealth. I want to make sure we have a good definition of happiness that we can work with and we can achieve more in your life. These definitions, I think, will help you to better sustain the health, the wealth, the happiness that you desire to have in your life. Also, during this segment, I'd like to give you an overview of the 8 keys. I'd like to introduce each key to you in a very quick segment. Maybe take 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes on each one of the keys so you understand all of the keys from the very beginning, and you can see how each lesson that we're going to add throughout this year will enable you to become better at achieving wealth in your life and also happiness. And I'm going to show and draw this on a cycle so you'll be able to have a cycle which is a framework in which you can use the 8 keys and you can see how they interlock and how they work with each other. I also want to give you an example of a very outstanding man, someone that I admire in my life, that uses these types of principles to help him achieve greatness. This is a man who became a billionaire, and I think that this example will be a good one to help you in your life to sustain the application of the 8 keys. Now, the whole purpose for this seminar is to help you to achieve greater wealth and to achieve greater happiness. So let me dive right in, and I want to talk to you about why the 8 keys. I know a very famous man by the name of Stephen Covey, and he wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I have a close friend, his name is James Skinner, and he wrote the book, The 9 Steps to Success. So when I started to write my book, I said, maybe what type of numbers should I use? And I thought, they've used 7, he's got 9, maybe I should use 8. And on a very serious note, 8 happened to be a number that I like very much because it has a sense of infinity to it. So why the 8 keys? Well, the reason for the 8 keys is there are many, many courses on how to make money. In fact, the publisher requested when I wrote the book that I write about wealth. That's okay, but they really wanted me to emphasize happiness because people are seeking greater happiness in their life. How many wealthy people do you know that are truly not happy? It's assumed by many people that when you have wealth, that you're rich, you have possessions and automobiles and you have jewelry and so forth, this will make you happy. It is not true. There are many other things we need to achieve in our life in order to gain happiness. And during this course, I'm going to share with you what those things are, and I'm going to share with you the 8 significant keys that will help you achieve true happiness and true wealth in your life. And I'm talking about deep, satisfying wealth, deep, satisfying happiness. This is what we're trying to achieve, and this is my objective in working with you over the next few months as you develop your own personal plan, as you implement it in order to create this wealth and happiness in your life. Now, I hope you want to be wealthy. I hope you want to be happy. In fact, my guess is the reason you purchased this course is because this is something you wanted to improve in your life. So for a moment, I'd like to have you open up your application workbook, and I'd like you to draw something in the workbook. You'll notice on the page there is a place where you can enter some percentages. There's a line here, and at the end of it, it says 100%. And let's first of all say that this is your wealth line. Look at this wealth line that we have right here, this line. How far along are you to achieving 100% of the wealth you want to achieve? Now, many people don't put a limitation on their wealth, but just think for a moment. If I was really going to be wealthy today, how much money would that be? And I want you to think that of as 100%, and then mark on the line somewhere that you think you are in achieving that wealth. For example, I'm just going to put a mark in this area and say maybe it's, let's say it's 60%. You're 60% there. Also, I want you to think about it for a moment. If you have 60% of your wealth, you're trying to get 100%, that leaves you a gap of 40%. So this course is aimed at helping you close that gap, close that 40%. Now let's look at the next line that's on your page. The next line, we're again going to go from 0% to 100%. And this time we're going to call this the happiness line. And this happiness is the line that where you judge of 100% of the happiness I want in life, where am I on that? Now I know this is a little bit of an arbitrary line, but I'd like you to just put a mark on there where you think you are. Again, I'm going to put it at about 60%, so your gap would be around 40%. In both cases, we have gaps that equal 40%. So we have a gap on both of those that is 40%. So the objective of this course is to help you overcome that gap and to achieve the happiness that you want to have in life. So my purpose is to help you do that, and I'm very serious about it because I believe that with the right plans, the right systems, the right focus, that you can achieve far more in your life than you've maybe achieved recently. So what can you expect from this course? Basically, in this course, what I want you to do is to look at this as a guide, a method to help you overcome that gap and to achieve consistently in your life greater wealth and greater happiness, and to do it in a way that you can do it day by day. You have a plan, and it's something that gives you the confidence you're able to be able to achieve that. And also, I want to help you develop a measurement system so you know that you're moving along towards achieving the goals that you've set. And I want you to be able to see and feel that you're achieving that wealth and you're achieving that happiness. And I know that this seems at this time that how can I help you do this, especially when I'm only working off a DVD. And that's why I ask you to take the time to, during the course, fill out the exercises, and after you've finished watching the DVD, go back to your application workbook, think about it, meditate upon it, and find ways that you can apply it in your life, find a way that you can take actions on it every single day if possible. And when you do, you're going to find a change in your life that leads you to greater wealth and greater happiness. In this next section, what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk to you about two words. The first word is wealth, and the next word is happiness. What is wealth? What is happiness? If you look in the dictionary, they will tell you that wealth is the possessions, the property. Those are the things that you gather around you that have economic utility. In other words, you can see the number of automobiles you have, you can see the number of watches you have, and you know that you are wealthy. So that's the definition of wealth. It's the riches of the world. It's the thing that many people in this world seek after. They want to have these things. They want to enjoy them in their life. Now, happiness is an interesting word to define because happiness is something that is found inside of a person, and sometimes it's looked at rather subjectively. Some people look at happiness different than others. But usually a word that will come up if you ask for definitions from people if they are happy or not is they are content. So where this one has riches that are outside of ourselves, these are things that we gather around us. Happiness is something that is internal inside of ourselves, and this is when we are content and we have contentment inside of ourselves. So what we're trying to do during this course is to help you grow your riches and also to grow your contentment that you have in life. And so what we want to do is the gaps that we talked about before, that 40% gap that I gave you an example, we want to close that in your life. Now, I don't know if we can do this in 1 month, 1 week. I kind of doubt it. Maybe even can't even do it in 1 year, but we can over time, when you apply the 8 keys, help you to become consistently wealthy and happy. In fact, my goal is to help you find the happiness that is beyond wealth, to help you to enjoy in your life those things that are really important in life beyond just the riches. Because why are the wealthy not happy? Because they have not done certain things in their life that will allow them to gain true happiness. And that's what I want you to gain from applying the 8 keys, is this true happiness. So let's look at it in another way. What I want you to do is to think about what we're going to do today is create 3 levels of application. One level out here talks about the things we have in life. These are the possessions. These are the watches, the automobiles. It's the money, the bank accounts. Those are the type of things that we have. Then there are things that we do in our life. Now, possessions and riches allow us to do different things. We can travel. We can see friends. We can see family. We can do a whole variety of things. And this is what we do. It's the activities of our life. Then this next level inside here is who we are. These are the qualities of self. This is the contentment. This is where we find the happiness which is deep inside of ourselves. And so what we find is truly wealthy and truly happy people, they have sufficient riches in their life. Each person decides what is sufficient for their needs. They can do and achieve and accomplish the things that they want to have in life. And then, of course, they are someone because the inside has this great happiness. And so what I want to do in this course is to help you build who you are, to build this sense. Now, I want to give you an example of a person that I've found that lives in the state where I live. His name is John Huntsman. Now, John Huntsman is known, John Huntsman Jr., because John Huntsman Jr. is right now the ambassador to China. He previously was an ambassador to Singapore and also the governor of the state of Utah. This is the son of John Huntsman. Now, John Huntsman is the one who founded and created Huntsman Chemical, and because of his tremendous success in business, he became a billionaire. In fact, he is the 6th largest philanthropist in charities and giving in the United States. So this man has not only great wealth, but he's able to give and share this with many other people. It allows him to do many things in his life. I find John Huntsman with his family, his diligence in his religion. He's a man who enjoys himself and he has great happiness in his life as well as he has great wealth. And many people would find a man like this to be a good model. I find him to be a good model for me in his life. In fact, he's written a book. The name of the book is Winners Never Cheat. Everyday values we learned as children but may have forgotten. So he has actually taken the time to write out the prescription to help other people achieve wealth and happiness in their life. Here is a man that has great wealth. He has great happiness. He's a philanthropist. And he has a capacity to create great wealth and happiness. And this is the type of thing that I would like you to do in your life. I would like you to be able to reach into yourself, ask yourself, who do I want to be? What do I want to do in life, and what are the riches that I would like to achieve in my life? What type of wealth would I like to have? And my purpose during this course is to help you find a way to do those things and to do it systematically, and do it in a way that's very deeply satisfying to you. Okay. People ask me, Royce, where did you come up with the 8 keys? I'd like to answer that question for you briefly right now. The 8 keys are based upon personal research I've done, personal observation, and learning that I've achieved by teaching thousands of people workshops and seminars. And it's by my own meditation and my own personal research of books, people that I know that have allowed me to gain the insight of the 8 keys. Everything that I teach in the 8 keys, none of it is new. It's organized differently, it's presented differently, but has a viewpoint from uniquely mine that I add to knowledge and wisdom that I've gained from many great people, such as Gandhi, Warren Buffett, John Huntsman, Stephen Covey, other great people who have written books and have done workshops. And so what I've done is I've taken the wisdom, the best ideas from those people, and what I've done is written them in a book and put them in a course that allows people then to maximize the happiness in their life. That's where I came up with the 8 keys. Frankly, I probably could have written about 50 keys because inside of it there's many keys that you're going to find, but I think that there are 8 significant ones that we can organize and put into a simple diagram that will allow us to understand and to remember them. I believe that mental frameworks, I believe that maps that we put in our mind allow us to remember and show the application and relationship of principles with each other and how we can put these together to organize them in their life. So what I'm going to do is organize everything into a cycle. And so this circle represents the cycle of the 8 keys that help us to achieve the happiness and wealth that you want. And so what I've done is I've organized the 8 keys in this cycle. And so each one of the keys, as we move through it, reinforces the other, and it allows, by applying number 8 to reinforce them at the end. This is our 8 keys cycle. Let me write over that just one more time, make it a little easier for you to see. 8 keys cycle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few minutes to walk you through this cycle and to teach you each one of the keys so that you see how they relate to each other. And so from the very beginning of the course, you can get a quick roadmap of where we're going. And this is what I'm trying to achieve. So let's look very first at the key number 1 right here. This is key number 1. Key number 1 is first, and I've chosen it first because it's important as a foundational concept. I consider it to be a principle. In fact, the name of this is Discover Principles. I believe in the concept of principles. Now, there are many types of principles in this life. We have gravity, we have honesty, we have a variety of principles. But what I'm going to challenge you to do is for you to discover principles in your life and their usefulness. Because a principle, once you learn it and you're able to apply principles, you can gain predictable results in your life. And so I would like you to convert your life into what you would call it a principled living life. In other words, you can live these principles that will allow you to gain the greater wealth and happiness in your life. And in particular, in this course, we're going to look for principles that help you build wealth. We're going to look for finding principles that help you to build greater happiness in your life. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about the principles such as the freedom of choice. I'm going to talk about the principle of accountability. I'm going to talk about principles that are really important to us. The concepts, simple ones like planning and time management. We're going to go through these principles that will allow you to increase your effectiveness in life. So that's just quickly an overview of principle number 1. The next principle we're going to talk about, principle 2, is choosing your core beliefs. I would like you to choose principles that can become the central beliefs in your life. Now, why principles at your core beliefs? Beliefs are the things that guide our actions, and those actions generate the results, and those results lead to wealth and happiness for us. So at the core, we want to be able to find those principles and values that we can live and internalize in who we become, so that our actions are in alignment with achieving the wealth and happiness we want. So it's important as you choose these beliefs and you apply these principles that you choose the beliefs that will guide you towards the destination that you want. It's important that you discover those things and apply them in your life. I had an experience in my life. One time I had a belief, I had a value, I had a principle that I lived in my life, that I just loved automobiles. So I would read automobile magazines, and I'd take subscriptions, and I would watch movies that had nice automobiles in them, and I kind of worshipped, if you would, automobiles. And I really enjoyed them. In fact, every year I found myself buying a new automobile. And I started to realize this was a huge financial burden on my family to have these automobiles, especially in a young married life that we had. And that core belief that automobiles were very valuable, that they reflected who I was, and this encumbrance of automobiles in my life I found was very expensive, and it slowed me down from becoming the best person I could be. So I decided I need to stop focusing on so many automobiles in my life. And as I did that, I realized that I needed to stop the input of kind of this worship I had of automobiles. So I stopped reading the magazines, I stopped going to the car shows, and I started focusing on those things that were more important in my life than automobiles. So at that period of time, I, without thinking, chose automobiles to be a core belief in my life, that by having those, that would give me happiness. And in reality, having so many automobiles and so much focus in automobiles in my life is actually leading me to unhappiness. So as you select these core beliefs, you want to be able to select them carefully, because these core beliefs will lead you to actions which will then lead you to either wealth or happiness, or both of those things. So that's principle number 2. Principle number 3 is very simple. It's one you've heard many times, but it's very useful. It's foundational. It's something that we must use every single day of our life, and it's very simple. That is, write your goals. Once you have your beliefs, write the goals from those beliefs that will help you achieve the results that you want to achieve in life. Think about it. What can you do today, a small goal, that will enable you to reach a long-term, bigger goal in the future, and not be distracted by all the ringing phones, the noise, all of the television, all of the other activities that happen in your life that would prevent you from achieving that which is really important. So what you want to do is you want to set goals that enable you to achieve that which is truly important in your life. Now, I've put the word in this goal, in this particular key, that says write your goal. Many people believe that they can just think about their goal, carry it around in their head, and they'll be effective. Well, to a degree, that's okay, because your head is like a compass in your life. It leads you to the direct destination of where you're going. In fact, the head is a perfect example of goal setting, because where you look is where you walk, and your feet automatically follow that. So what you want to do is write the goal, so that is the direction where you look, and that creates what you want to achieve in life. So I think it's vital that we learn how to write effective goals, that we learn how to write them and use them and focus on them in a way that will compel ourselves towards the greater wealth and happiness that we want in life. In this next segment, I want to explain with you just quickly number 4, key number 4. Key number 4 has been one that I have used personally in my life, and it's very, very valuable. In fact, I've learned it working in the international arena. I've traveled to over 100 countries in my life now. I've done workshops in over 60 of them. I have helped build relationships in many countries, and I was taught as I started to work in these countries. A good friend came to me and said, Royce, you know, one of the keys to being effective is to build relationship skills. And he says, I have some suggestions on how you can build your relationship skills. And this is why I make it key number 4, build relationship skills, because as you build the friends, as you build the relationships with people, you become far more effective. In fact, I believe in my life, one of the greatest assets that I have are the relationships I have with people all around this world, inside my family, inside my community. These are probably one of the most valuable assets. In fact, I think you might even look at it as a way of being rich, to be rich in friends and rich in friendships. Even those are not possessions that you have, the relationships are something that you can nurture and cherish and build. And you know, there are specific skills that you can use to help you build relationships. I'll just share one with you very quickly right now. We're going to study it more later in this course, and that is communications. And one of the most effective communication skills to help you build a good relationship with people is learn how to listen to the other person, so they feel completely understood, so that they know and feel your true interest in them. And when they feel that interest and that understanding, what they will do is they will likewise return that listening to you. They will have a sincere interest in you, and soon you will find that you have a wonderful relationship with that individual. This is why I call it key number 4. I placed it right after goal setting, and I put it before 5 for a purpose, because I think early in our lives we must learn the skills of building good relationships. I've noticed that teenagers, in their teenage years, they like to build relationships. In fact, the most important thing to a teenager is to have good relationships. And I think it's important to us as human beings, if we're going to gain that independence, to become interdependent with people in our lives, we need to have that relationship skill, that intent to help, give, share, work with other people. And when we do that, we find ourselves being vastly more effective. Now, let's move on, because I'm giving a quick overview of these keys. Let's go to number 5. Key number 5, it's execute your plan. Yes, I had you write your plan in 3. Now I'm going to have you execute your plan, but I inserted in here relationships with people, because when you execute your plan, you want to do it with good relationships with other people. It's very nice to have a good plan. I find myself some days writing a good plan for the day, and then I meander off and I get distracted with something else, and I don't execute my plan. And I find I went away from my plan. And when you go away from your plan and you don't execute it properly, you don't achieve what you really could have achieved in your life by executing that plan. So in this course, I'm going to do some things that will help you to better execute your plans. And I'm going to give you some insights in how you can build greater habits of effectiveness in execution of plans, of goals, of the direction that you want to go in your life. We also want to learn how to remove obstacles. We also want to know how to get away from distractions. We also want to know those things that will help us to stay focused on what's really important in our life. I'm going to include that in key number 5, execute. Let's now look at 6. 6 is an interesting one. This is one that I learned from a man by the name of Charles Coonrod. Chuck Coonrod, as he's known, a person that prefers that name. He has written a book about scorekeeping. And so what I wanted to do is I also wanted to include that here in the 8 keys, because the measurement of results, which is key number 6, is so vastly important in our lives. Because once you have a plan, you're implementing it, how do you know if you're making progress or not? I was watching television recently, and I saw on television a baseball game. It had been years since I had watched a baseball game. And I realized in baseball, they measure everything. They measure not only the score, but the batting averages. They know everything. They measure everything. And those measurements help them predict the success that helps them to see their progress. And when they hire players, for example, they look at the measurements, the scores they've made, their batting averages, and so many things. The speed of the pitch, how many times they hit, how many times they don't hit. There's so many things that they measure. In your life, if you use the power of measurement, you can create great excitement in helping you achieve the goals that you've set, and it will keep you on course. It will help you to execute your plan. And so by measuring your goals, writing them down, and having a consistent method of measurement, this is a powerful way to help you improve your life. I don't know about you, but when I seriously want to lose weight, what I find myself doing is stepping on the scales and seeing the difference between yesterday and today, how much I weigh. And if I weigh less, I feel excited. If I weigh more, I feel a little discouraged, and I make a goal to not eat as much and to exercise more. So measurement has immediate impact on our actions, has immediate impact on our thinking, and I want to make sure that we use this effectively in the 8 keys. Now, key number 7. This is a very interesting one. And I've learned it from many happy, wealthy friends that I have. The wealthy friends that I have, inevitably, they will apply this goal, this particular key, because when you share your wealth, it gives you great satisfaction. It gives you a purpose for having your wealth. So sharing wealth is important. And also, by the way, something that I've learned is that you don't have to be wealthy to share. So this is a key that helps you find happiness. You don't have to wait until you're rich, filthy rich, all the automobiles, the land that you want, and then start giving. I suggest that in order to discover a way to become happy in your life and to do it very effectively, one of the things you need to do is start sharing by teaching, start sharing by modeling, start sharing by just the small things that you do, the kindnesses you do with the people. And then when you have the money to share with people, then share your money too. Share your time. I once talked to a dentist friend, and he was wealthy. He had wonderful land and horses, and he was a happy man. And he says, Royce, he says, you know what? It's easy to share money. What's difficult for me to share is my time. And I really believe that sharing your time is an important way of sharing your wealth, because this will lead you to happiness. In the center, we have the 8th key. Now, the 8th key is one that I've learned from my Japanese friends, because this is Kaizen. This is continuous improvement. This is how great quality is made. This is how success is achieved. This is how gold medals are won. This is how people achieve the pinnacle of success in their life, is when they continuously improve their life. The 8 keys to wealth beyond money is done by helping you to improve each one of the other keys and to continuously do it. So to me, it's like spokes on a wheel, that you need to keep each one of them strong, because if you don't, your life goes along kabump, 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 because one is too short or one is too long. So what I encourage you to do is make sure that you discover the principles that are important in your life. And you do this continuously, and you change it. Once you have gone through this cycle, the cycle is not complete. You must go through it again and again and again. Once you have those core beliefs written, then write down the goals that are important to you. And you can change your goals, because as you mature in life, or as you change in life, or things happen to you, You'll find you'll let go of some goals and you'll want to have new goals. And that's perfectly okay to put it into your life plan. And you'll find as you go through life that you build new relationships, and some of the old relationships fade. They usually don't go away if you'll do just a little contacting and nurturing, but you'll find that you have new relationships, and you want to find that in that new area of your life, or where you've moved or where you've traveled, you build a new relationship. And then you want to make sure that you're really executing your plan well. And you can always improve your execution. I've been using these types of principles in my life for many, many years, and I find that each day I make it a goal to be better at applying my execution than I was the day before. And when I do that, I feel like I'm growing, and when I grow, I have vitality, excitement, and energy in my life, and life is worth living. And I live to enjoy life, and I want to make sure that life gives me an opportunity to live to the fullest. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we're measuring, seeing our progress, and making sure we're making that progress. I think one of the greatest things that a father or mother can do is to compliment their children on their growth and their development and how well they're progressing. I know that when I coach people, when I compliment them on their growth and their change that they're making in their life, and in that coaching process, that brings great happiness to them in their life. And so you can continuously improve your ability to measure. And of course, sharing. There's so many ways we can share in life. And we need to find ways we can improve the way we share. Not just the amount of money or the amount of time, but the quality of it that we share. And we really look at people sincerely, and we find ways to truly help them improve. And of course, we can find ways to continuously improve. We can actually continuously improve our way of continuously improving. So that, in short, is the 8 keys cycle, and it gives us an opportunity of seeing all of the 8 keys working together. Before we leave the 8 keys cycle, I would like to make 1 or 2 more comments on this cycle. I have found that when you have a framework of learning something, it helps you to remember that thing. So one of the purposes of the 8 key cycle is to help you to remember where it is, how you're using it, and it helps you to have that framework of understanding. There are many different ways of looking at this, but I think the easiest way is to look at it as simple as riding an automobile down a street. If you have a center line, it shows people to stay to the left or the right, depending on where you're driving in the world. And that center line is a guide, and it helps you to have a framework of understanding of where you belong. And I believe when you have a framework such as the 8 keys, it helps you to understand where you are and what you're doing. And so I'd like you to use the 8 keys as a framework in remembering and understanding it. Also, as you get into the 8 keys and study it, you'll find that you may be weak in one key and you might be positive in another key, that means you might be strong in it. And so focus on those areas that will build your strengths, focus on overcoming your weaknesses. So do just a little self-evaluation as you go through this, and find a way to continuously improve yourself in each one of them. But some of the keys you may need to spend more time on in order to become truly effective at it. For example, you may find that your core beliefs are not strong and you need to improve those. You may find that it would be good to read some biographies. You might find that it's good to do those types of activities that will increase your ability to apply that key. That's something that I won't know during the course. So I encourage you now to realize that just by going through the 8 keys once doesn't mean you'll be strong at applying it, because there might be some keys you need to work on more than others. With that said, let us move on. And what I'd like you to do is focus in your workbook right now, and I'd like you to answer some questions. And here are the questions that I've written in your workbook. The first question says, what processes do you use to improve yourself? The processes you use for improving yourself today are helping you achieve the results of who you are today. And what I want you to do is to challenge the processes you're using, the systems you're using in your life, and see if you can't do something differently to allow yourself to get better results. But I first of all want you to do a little self-analysis and say, what do I do? For example, do I get up in the morning and read from a book? Or do I study to help improve my mind each day? That would be an improvement process. Do I periodically attend a class? Do I go to a seminar? That would be an improvement process. What do I do to help myself become better each day? I want you to do an assessment of what you're doing right now in your life, because by taking a picture of what you're doing right now, you can then look at that, evaluate it, and say, these are the areas where I want to improve. And as I improve, I know I can make greater progress. So that's how I want you to answer that question. So just take a minute. There may not be enough room on that page. You may have to open up other pages. Write down the improvement processes you use and what you do to help yourself grow and develop each day. The next question says, what are some of the basic steps that you can take to help you improve more? As you write down the answers to question 1, you'll find that there's some things you know you should be doing to help you improve. So write down those steps. Set some new goals for yourself on what you can do to improve. For example, I found at one time in my life that I was not exercising enough. So I looked at my exercise habits and I found that I would just kind of wait until I had enough time, then I would go exercise. And there might be 2 or 3 weeks pass and I wouldn't exercise because I wouldn't have enough time. And then I heard this phrase the person shared, and I've adopted it. And they said this, they said, I will make you a promise. If you will invest time in exercise, it will give you the energy to do more work in your workday, and you will not lose the time in exercise, because the energy that you receive from doing that exercise will come back to you during the day. And so I took them up on it. I said, okay, if I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do it consistently at the same time each day. So I have a habit pattern in my life where I get up in the morning, I do some reading, doing some studying, some meditation, then I immediately do exercise. And I'll spend from 30 minutes to 60 minutes in a day, and I'll do that consistently 5, maybe 6 days a week, that I do that type of exercise. And you know what? The promise that was given to me is very true. By me taking that step of including exercise in my day, I found that I had greater energy and I was able to achieve far more than when I did not exercise. And today, at my age, I feel like I have greater vitality in my life than I had in my life 20 years ago, which is amazing to me. The next question says, what results are you achieving by the current process you have? I had you draw a line earlier, and on that line I said, what percentage of happiness have you achieved? What percentage of wealth have you achieved? I had you write down an X or put a tick mark on that line where you thought you were approximately in achieving 100% of the wealth or happiness that you want. And I bet there was a gap. I doubt that you checked off you have 100% of the happiness you want, you have 100% of the wealth you want. Maybe you do. It is possible to do that. But usually there's a gap in there. And if there is a gap, usually your results are lacking. And I want you to evaluate your life, the different aspects of it, and say, with the current processing I'm using, what are the results that I'm achieving? And see if you can see a connection between your processes and those results. Because what we want to do is increase your habit patterns, improve those habit patterns so you can get far better results. And that's why we want to start off thinking about our goals and our objectives that we have in life. And we want to do those things that will change those habit patterns. So write down some of your current results. In other words, what I want you to do is take a current assessment of yourself. It's kind of like walking in and looking at a mirror. Look at your body. Is that the body that you really want to have, or do you want to improve it? Do you want to make it better? If you can, use that mirror to look into your mind. Ask yourself, what percentage of my mind am I using? Einstein gave a very low number. I could hardly believe the number he used. He said that people use hardly any of the capacity of their brain, and there's so much more that we could use. But are you mentally studying, achieving, doing those things that you should be doing? How about the social interactions? You have the relationships that you want, or spiritually, look in that spiritual dimension. Do you have the spiritual relationship that you want with nature, with God? Do you have those types of relationships? What are the results? Analyze yourself at the beginning of this course so that we can start to measure your progress towards achieving even more. This is a self-assessment. Then, here's a question that I ask you to continuously ask over the next 12 months as you go through this DVD course, and that is, how will you improve? In fact, are you willing to improve? Many people are unwilling to change their habit patterns. They are very comfortable in the way they live right now, and even though they want more, they're not willing to change what they do in order to achieve more in life. So I want you to have a real moment with your life. A real moment is you look at yourself and say, am I truly willing to do what it takes to change in my life? Am I going to exert the energy? Am I going to take the time? Am I going to commit myself to change? And if you are, what are you going to start changing first? I suggest that you try not to change everything at once. It just doesn't work. Pick one or two things. In fact, you may, as you go through this course, say, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that. Prioritize them. Say, of these 5 things I've chosen to do, this is the one I'm going to work on first. And so as you go through the course, you'll get a set of priorities, and that will enable you then to tackle one of these objectives at a time. What I'd like to do now is to summarize this lesson and to share with you 1 or 2 more insights that might be useful as you embark in your journey of increasing your wealth and increasing your happiness. The 8 keys is specifically designed and locked together in a series of 8 keys that will enable you to discover principles, to find those principles in your life that will help you to find greater wealth and happiness. It also, once you've discovered those principles, it will enable you then to be able to write those principles down that are truly important in your life. Now, I suggest that there are many thousands, if not tens of thousands of principles that we live by in our life. And I'm going to suggest that you pick 2, 3, 4, no more than 7 that you'll focus on at any one time to help you to do that which is truly important in your life. So as you're going about discovering principles, focus on a few. Become good at doing a few things very well. In fact, I recommend that you do that with your skill set in life. Achieve a few things that you can do better than anyone else in this world, and when you do that, you're in a position to add value to other people. The same principle applies in self-improvement. Pick a few things that you're going to improve in your life. Now, once you've found the principle that you want, what you need to do is to develop a plan of how you're going to make that work. And so what we're going to do as we take each one of these 8 keys, I'm going to take you in depth so you'll be able to build a very complete plan, a plan that you can apply and work on a daily basis. And we'll find some ways of incorporating that into your tools, into your existing habit patterns, so that these things really stick to your life. My mother used to have a phrase she'd say when she'd feed me rice. She says, rice is good because it will stick to your bones. I want to make these concepts sticky so that they stick to your mind, they stick to your life, so that there is something that you can really imply that makes yourself better. Now, we talked about some definitions of wealth and happiness. I would ask you to write your own definitions. What does wealth mean to you? What does happiness mean to you? Because as we embark in this journey, you need to decide what that destination is of where you're going. I can't decide for you. Your spouse or your friends, your husband or wife, or anyone about you, your parents, they can't decide for you, even though they may influence it, and you need to choose the direction that will make them happy too. you may want to make sure that this is truly your dream, your goal, your objective that you want to achieve. And so make a definition of what happiness is in your life, what wealth is in your life. And then take the time, if you would, to read the 8 Keys book and to study it. And it'll give you a reinforcement beyond what I may be able to do in this short course. I think by working through the book and working through the course together, it goes hand in hand. In fact, I even have a suggestion for you. I love to teach, and one of the reasons I love to teach is because when I teach something, I learn it deeply in my life. I have a deeper application. So I suggest to you, teach what you learn, the key points, to someone else. Share it with family members, and that way they'll understand that you're trying to change in your life. Share it with your coworkers or the people in your business. When you teach them these ideas, it'll help you to learn them better, it'll commit you to applying them, and it will let them understand and know that your willingness to change in your life. And I suggest that you develop a kind of an image of or a model of who you would like to become in life. I'd like you to think about the person 5 years, 10 years, whatever you can imagine in the future of the type of person you would like to become. Normally, this happens when you think about somebody you already admire. There may be someone that you admire. Write down their name, write down what you admire about them, and say, this is the type of wealthy person I'd like to become, or this is the type of happy person I'd like. And if you find a person who is wealthy and happy, this is the type of happy and wealthy person like. And think about it. This is the time to start doing this, because when we start on lesson number 2, we're going to focus deeply. We're going to go deeply into principles. We're going to understand it in great depth so that you're able to use the concept of principles deeply in your life. So I want you to do this general preparation so that when we get to each one of these different keys, you'll be able to apply it deeply in your life. I thank you very much for taking the time of studying this DVD and the book. And I hope that you'll be able to, by applying this consistently in your life, be able to achieve the goals and the objectives that you want. Thank you very much for your attendance today.